Atlanta had already been rocked by the loyalty war, but no one could have predicted that the next move would come wrapped in official court documents. The tension from blurry screenshots and leaked voice notes was still fresh when Rasheeda, tired of being dragged through the mud, decided it was time to fight back. Quietly, behind the scenes, lawyers were hired, papers were drawn up, and suddenly, the word lawsuit started to circulate across Atlanta. By the time the blogs picked up the news, it hit with the force of a bombshell. Rasheeda was filing a defamation suit against Yandy, and the city was in shock. This wasn't just a caption, a blurry photo, or an Instagram jab. This was the courtroom, and that changed everything. The gossip blogs went wild. One screamed, "Rasheeda versus Yandy, from Instagram to courtroom." Another headline asked, "Can you sue over screenshots?" Atlanta says, "Let's find out." Podcasts exploded, with messy panelists debating late into the night whether the screenshots were defamatory or just public exposure. Fans, as always, got in on the action. One meme showed Rasheeda's boutique logo slapped on legal papers with the caption, "Pressed Boutique versus Receipts LLC." The jokes flooded in, but underneath the humor, it was clear, this feud had officially gone nuclear. Yandy, however, stayed silent. True to form, she didn't drop a rant or go live to defend herself. Instead, she posted a serene photo carousel of her family at a Sunday dinner. The caption simply read, "Truth is a defense. Receipts don't lie." That one line sent the internet into a frenzy. Fans rushed to flood the comments, "Sis playing chess, not checkers." Another wrote, "If you know your receipts are real, why would you be worried about a lawsuit?" Yandy's calmness became her weapon. She was portrayed once again as the strategist, the unbothered queen who didn't need to respond because she knew she had already won. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was scrambling. Her legal team filed papers claiming emotional distress and financial harm from the viral posts, but the streets weren't having it. They remembered all the times she stayed quiet, the cryptic lives, the moments when she refused to clear the air about the accusations Yandy had thrown her way. Now, as she ran to the courthouse, it didn't look like strength. It looked like desperation. And in Atlanta, desperation is like blood in the water. The sharks were circling, then came the first leak. A gossip blog published what they claimed was a copy of Rasheeda's initial court filing, stamped and signed. Whether authentic or not, it spread like wildfire. Screenshots of the filing flew across fan pages. Rasheeda versus Yandy Smith Harris. Complaint for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The authenticity didn't matter. The perception was everything. Tasha K., ever the media mogul, chimed in from the background, not as the star this time, but as the commentator. On a quick live stream, she waved a flash drive in the air and laughed, "Y'all think this is just Instagram beef? Baby, I got exhibits. Exclusive court files. The streets gon' eat this alive." Even though she didn't reveal any details, the idea that outside media had their hands on court documents made the storyline even messier. Kirk couldn't help himself. He posted a gym selfie, flexing with the caption, "Energy don't lie. Don't believe everything you read." That single line sparked a wildfire. Fans flooded his comments, "Sir, not you talking about energy when you cheated on your wife on national TV." Another added, "You broke loyalty before screenshots even existed. Sit this one out." His defense backfired in spectacular fashion. Every time Kirk spoke, he reminded the world of his past, his credibility shredded over the years. And the fans weren't going to let him rewrite history. By the weekend, the entire city was immersed in the lawsuit saga. Anonymous pages claimed to have inside sources, others swore they saw Rasheeda leaving her lawyer's office in Buckhead, looking tense and exhausted. Memes popped up of courtroom sketches, imagining Rasheeda sitting alone while Yandy smiled across from her, even though the case hadn't gone to trial yet. The narrative was already being written, one woman fighting to clear her name with legal documents, while the other let the truth and the streets do the dragging for her. But behind the scenes, Rasheeda was unraveling. For years, she had crafted an image of being composed, business-minded, and family-focused. But now, that carefully constructed persona was being shredded, one meme at a time. She posted a photo of herself with her kids, captioning it, "I stand on family, I stand on truth, I don't stand on drama." What she thought would be a shield against the storm only made things worse. Instead of receiving sympathy, she found herself further attacked. "Sis, why your name all over those group chats?" one commenter said. "Don't hide behind family pics when the receipts are public," another added. What she thought was a soft defense turned into more evidence in the eyes of the fans. Silence in Atlanta doesn't protect you, it convicts you. And now, every word, every post, every moment was digging her deeper into the hole she had already started to fall into. Yandy, however, stayed the course. She continued to post carefully curated captions and pictures, letting her fans and the Blogs do the heavy lifting. One of her posts read, "Loyalty is free, but some people can't afford it." Within hours, it became a viral mantra, transformed into memes, and spread like wildfire across the internet. Even people outside the love and hip-hop universe were sharing it, quoting it, turning it into a universal lesson on loyalty. While Rasheeda was being painted as desperate, Yandy was being rebranded as the calm, composed strategist who was turning a messy situation into a masterclass in branding. As the legal battle raged on, the public perception was no longer about screenshots, it was about loyalty, authenticity, and perception. Rasheeda, despite all her legal moves, seemed to be losing the battle in the court of public opinion. Meanwhile, Yandy, with her quiet strength and strategic calm, was winning the hearts of the fans, leaving Rasheeda to fight an uphill battle that she didn't seem prepared for. By the time the second leak surfaced, Atlanta had become a battleground. Every street corner buzzed with whispers about the lawsuit. Anonymous fan pages had taken the reins of this drama, fueling every fire with supposed insider info. Rumors swirled that Rasheeda had been spotted leaving a high-end law office, looking worn and desperate. The blogs exploded with speculation, dissecting every move, every glance. The narrative was clear: Rasheeda was on the defensive, scrambling to salvage a reputation that had already been tainted in the public eye. The memes, the jokes, the commentary, it all painted her as someone trying to outrun the inevitable, but it was the leaks that really set the streets on fire. A fan account posted what they claimed was a screenshot from an undisclosed court document, one that included the lawsuit's full title, Rasheeda vs. Yandy Smith Harris, Complaint for Defamation and Intentional Infliction of Emotional Distress. The moment that image hit the timeline, it spread faster than wildfire. The streets didn't care if it was real or fake, the perception was enough to keep the flames burning. And the memes? They didn't stop. One Twitter user posted a mock courtroom sketch with the caption, "When the receipts become the exhibits." The public was eating it up, and Rasheeda was the main course. Tasha K, always ready to jump into the fray, made her presence known once again. This time, she wasn't the star, but the commentator. Waving a flash drive in the air on a live stream, she grinned. "Y'all think this is just Instagram beef? Nah, baby, I got receipts. I got court files. This story is about to get messy." She didn't reveal any details, but the implication was clear. Tasha was feeding the fire, and now the entire narrative had evolved into something even bigger than the feud between Rasheeda and Yandy. It was a public spectacle, a courtroom drama unfolding live in the streets. Kirk, ever the attention seeker, couldn't resist. A gym selfie appeared on his Instagram with the caption, "Energy don't lie. Don't believe everything you read." But fans weren't having it. "Sir, not you talking about energy when you cheated on your wife on national TV," one fan clapped back. Another added, "You broke loyalty before Instagram beef even existed. Sit this one out, Kirk." His attempt at damage control backfired so hard that it only made things worse for Rasheeda. His old scandals came rushing back to haunt him, and every time he spoke, he reminded the public of his long history of broken trust. And every time Rasheeda remained silent, the perception grew stronger that she was trying to hide from the truth. As the weekend approached, the internet was in overdrive. The court filing, whether real or not, had taken on a life of its own. Meme after meme circulated, mocking the legal battle, painting Rasheeda as desperate and Yandy as unbothered. The fans had made their decision. The lawsuit wasn't protecting Rasheeda's image, it was actively destroying it. The joke became, why sue over receipts when you can just drop more receipts? Then came the next bombshell, a post from Yandy herself. While Rasheeda was caught up in a whirlwind of legal documents and street gossip, Yandy remained as calm and collected as ever. She posted a simple photo carousel of her family enjoying a peaceful dinner, followed by the caption, "Truth is a defense. Receipts don't lie." The fans went wild. The comments were flooded with praise. "Sis is playing chess, not checkers." Another added, "If you've got receipts, why would you even be worried about a lawsuit?" It was the perfect move. Yandy knew the truth was on her side, and her silence spoke louder than anything Rasheeda could say. Her strategy? Don't engage in the drama. Let the receipts do the talking. Meanwhile, Rasheeda, in a final attempt to salvage her public image, posted a picture of herself with her children, captioning it, "I stand on family, I stand on truth, I don't stand on drama." She hoped it would protect her, but instead, the public turned it into more evidence against her. The comments tore her apart. "Sis, why your name in all those group chats? Don't hide behind family photos when the receipts are out there." It didn't matter how many pictures of her family she posted, silence in Atlanta wasn't a shield. It was a conviction. The streets weren't just questioning her actions, they were questioning her loyalty and authenticity. The memes piled. Up, don't post family pics when you're out here pretending for the cameras. Rasheeda's every attempt to defend herself only added fuel to the fire. And the truth was, every time she posted or remained silent, the fans made their own conclusions. They didn't need the courtroom verdict to decide, they had already made up their minds. Then, in the midst of all this, the first courtroom date arrived, and it became clear that this wasn't going to be a typical civil case. The courthouse was flooded with media. News vans lined the streets, bloggers set up their cameras, and fans gathered outside like it was a red carpet event. Rasheeda, dressed to the nines in a sleek black blazer and oversized sunglasses, stepped out of the black SUV and immediately became the center of attention. The cameras flashed as commentators whispered, "She looks like she's going to war." But the fans, ever the critics, immediately jumped to conclusions. Sis dressed for court like it's Fashion Nova X boutique promo. Yandy, on the other hand, arrived with the same quiet confidence that had defined her throughout the feud. No flashy outfit, no entourage. Just a simple cream blouse, jeans, and a neat ponytail. She smiled softly at the cameras, unshaken by the circus around her. The contrast was brutal. While Rasheeda appeared armored, tense, and defensive, Yandy radiated calm, composed confidence. The optics were everything, and they told the entire story. Rasheeda was the one caught in the storm, and Yandy was the one who had it all under control. Inside the courthouse, it was a different story. The benches were packed, not just with the press but with fans, bloggers lip-tweeting every move. Even the judge had to remind the room that this was a legal proceeding, not a reality show taping. But for the streets, it was already a show. The lawyers made their opening statements, and immediately, the battle lines were drawn. Rasheeda's attorney argued that the viral screenshots had been manipulated, taken out of context, and weaponized to destroy Rasheeda's reputation, her brand, and her family life. They claimed the emotional distress caused by the posts had been overwhelming and that her business had suffered financial loss due to online harassment and boycott campaigns. But to the fans watching, it sounded hollow. They remembered the receipts. They remembered Rasheeda's silence when Yandy first made those claims. And most importantly, they remembered that Rasheeda had never fully cleared the air. When Yandy's lawyer stood to speak, the mood in the courtroom shifted. Calm, clear, and deliberate, the statement cut through the tension. Truth is not defamation. Receipts don't lie. What Ms. Smith-Harris presented to the public was not an attack, it was clarity. The reputational harm suffered by the plaintiff is a result of her own actions and words. The courtroom felt like it held its breath. Outside, fans cheered. Receipts don't lie. Receipts don't lie. The chant started on social media, and it took over in a matter of minutes. The battle was only just beginning, but Yandy was already winning the public war. And Rasheeda? She was sinking further into the storm she had created. The courtroom drama had become a spectacle, but the real battle was happening outside the courthouse. The streets of Atlanta were electric with anticipation as fans, bloggers, and even casual onlookers all eagerly awaited the next twist in the saga. The courthouse had turned into a media circus, and everyone knew that the next courtroom date would bring even more chaos. But no one could have predicted what was about to unfold. The fans outside the courthouse had taken the narrative into their own hands. As Rasheeda's sleek black SUV pulled up, the crowd erupted into a mix of clapping, jeering, and chanting. Rasheeda stepped out, her designer sunglasses firmly in place, her black blazer sharp and immaculate, but there was a palpable tension in her stance. This wasn't the same confident businesswoman that had once ruled the streets of Atlanta. This was someone under fire, trying to hold on to whatever was left of her reputation. The camera flashes were blinding, and the sound of commentary filled the air. Sis looks like she's going to war. The comparison to a Fashion Nova promo was everywhere. People weren't just critiquing her legal battle, they were critiquing the optics. And the optics were bad. She was dressed like she was headed to battle, but the public was starting to see her as the defendant, not the victor. Then, Yandy arrived. Calm, collected, unbothered. She was dressed in a simple pastel suit, no entourage, no grand entrance, just quiet confidence. She smiled at the cameras, giving a subtle wave, as if this entire thing was beneath her. And that contrast, the stark difference in their entrances, spoke volumes. Rasheeda's attempt to appear armored only made her seem more vulnerable, while Yandy's composure was a silent declaration that she was in control. Inside the courtroom, the tension was almost unbearable. Every seat was filled. The gallery was packed with press, bloggers, fans, and those who had come to witness the most talked-about trial in Atlanta. As the judge entered and called the proceedings to order, the street noise outside seemed to drown out the sound of the gavel. It wasn't just a civil case anymore, it had turned into a cultural event. Rasheeda's lawyer, standing confidently, began to make the case that the viral screenshots, those blurry, manipulated images that had set everything off, were an attack on her character. They argued that Rasheeda's reputation had been damaged beyond repair, and her family had suffered tremendous emotional distress. They claimed that her boutique had faced boycotts, sponsorships had been pulled, and the constant harassment had left her emotionally shattered, but the fans? They weren't convinced. They remembered the memes, the silent treatments, the Instagram posts where Rasheeda failed to respond or clear the air when the accusations first surfaced. They remembered the group chats, the shady behavior. To them, Rasheeda wasn't a victim, she was someone who had played the game but got caught in her own lies. And with every word her lawyer spoke, the perception of Rasheeda as the victim seemed to slip further away. When it was Yandy's turn, the energy shifted. Her lawyer, calm and measured, rose to address the court. "Truth is not defamation," he began, his voice steady. "Receipts don't lie. What we have here is clarity, not character assassination. Our client responded to public speculation with transparency. Any harm suffered by the plaintiff is a direct result of her own actions and her own silence." The words landed like a bombshell. "Receipts don't lie" echoed across the courtroom. The fans outside, watching through the live streams and social media updates, picked up on the phrase immediately. They chanted it. "Receipts don't lie. Receipts don't lie." It wasn't just a defense, it was a war cry. Yandy had just redefined the narrative, and Rasheeda was stuck trying to catch up, but the real blow came when Yandy's team introduced the exhibits. The blurred screenshots that had initially started the entire firestorm were now clear, unaltered, and entered into the record. They were displayed on the courtroom projector, one by one. The first screenshot showed a group chat with Jasmine, where Rasheeda had allegedly referred to Yandy as fake loyal. The room gasped as the words flashed on the screen. "Sis. Yandy always playing victim. That's why I stopped rocking with her. It's all for cameras." The fans outside exploded. "Sis buried herself," one tweet read. Another posted, "Imagine suing somebody only to prove them right in front of a judge." The memes flooded in immediately, poking fun at the irony of Rasheeda's lawsuit. The streets were unforgiving. And the damage was done. Then came the voice note. The same voice note that had leaked online months ago, only now it was crystal clear, authenticated by the court. The courtroom speakers crackled, and the words filled the air. It was Rasheeda's voice, along with Jasmine's. The exchange was damning. Jasmine's voice, "Sis, just keep it low. They going to believe what they want anyway." Rasheeda's voice, "Yeah, you right. I'm tired of pretending for cameras." The room went silent. The air in the courtroom seemed to freeze. The words, simple and cutting, hung in the air like smoke. And outside, the fans erupted. Hashtag pretending for cameras trended instantly. Blogs were on fire. The streets didn't wait for the judge's ruling, they had already delivered their verdict. Rasheeda's credibility was gone. The fans had made up their minds. It didn't matter if the evidence was real or fabricated. What mattered was the perception. And the perception was damning. Kirk, sitting behind Rasheeda in the courtroom, couldn't keep his composure. The cameras caught him burying his face in his hands as the evidence played out. That image, Kirk, the man who had cheated on Rasheeda, now in the courtroom trying to defend her, became the latest meme. Not Kirk realizing he should have stayed at the gym. One post read, "Spice, ever the neutral figure, found herself dragged in once again." A second group chat surfaced, allegedly with a message from Rasheeda, "Spice messy, always pretending neutral." The fans went wild, dragging Spice into the mess of the loyalty war. The bone carrier narrative had come full circle, and Spice was now firmly in the center of the storm. Rasheeda, finally breaking under the weight of it all, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment for all to see. What was supposed to be a vulnerable moment of pain for her became the public's confirmation of her downfall. The memes poured in, sis crying in HD and 4K. And then there was Yandy. Calm, composed, never flustered. When asked if she had anything to add, Yandy simply said, "Sometimes people you break bread with will turn around and break your back. But the truth always shows itself." The line went viral in an instant. It was clipped, reposted, and turned into a motivational quote. What should have been a messy trial was turning into Yandy's personal brand masterclass. She didn't need to gloat. She didn't need to attack. She simply let the evidence and the fans do the work. As the court session ended, the judge announced that the evidence would be formally reviewed, and a verdict would come soon. But in the streets, the verdict had already been decided. Rasheeda had been buried by her own lawsuit. Yandy had won the court of public opinion, and the streets knew it. The blogs were already writing their headlines before the gavel even dropped. Rasheeda buried by her own receipts. Yandy wins the court of public opinion. And, of course, the verdict awaits, but the streets already decided.